Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Trasher Football. Today, I want to give my very last wish list for the College Football 25 video game. As you guys know, we should be getting information very soon, and we do know that we will be getting new covers this Thursday after the Deluxe Edition was accidentally put on the PlayStation Store. But without further ado, I want to go ahead and get into what I'm going to be doing in this video. I'm going to be listing some I've found from the Discord server, some that I've had, some that I've heard some other people discuss, and I'm going to say if it's either most likely, probable, or improbable. So without further ado, let's crack into it. I'm going to take a couple of ones from the Discord server. Uruguay Noma, good friend of the channel, said throwback uniforms and historic teams. So let's start off with throwback uniforms, and I have that most likely returning. You know, throwback uniforms is one of the things that a lot of these college teams cling on to, you know, maybe for homecoming, maybe for that little bit of an easy game for a conference schedule maybe during the season. You know, Florida, they use their old 80s throwbacks, or maybe it might have been 70s, I can't remember, but against Auburn in 2019. My favorite throwback unis in the country. One of the greatest. And, you know, ever since then, I've really wanted them to see it used more, and they have, and they've brought in some different alternates and stuff. I think they even brought in like a blue helmet, which has the old Pell logo F, which is another great Florida logo. For like alternate uniforms, I like to play with like some old 70s Texas A&M unis too, where it had the old Texas A&M font logo on the front of the jersey. You know, there's some other schools that don't have throwback uniforms. I mean, like Penn State has really held the same uniform for the last, 80 years? But some old uniforms from Oregon, maybe, or from like Boise State has a lot of really good blue unis. But to move on to the next one, we have historic teams. Now, I think that's really improbable. In my opinion, I'd love to see this happen too. This is one of the things I really, really, really want. And for EA, you know, I don't even know if I'd really say EA, just the small game dev department that's making this game for EA. I know they've been working on the game for 3 years, but I think that they just want to create a base game that'll blow everything out of the water that they've made before, but not with features, but only with gameplay. Now, I think in the future, yes, we could get a possibility of historic teams returning. But right now, I just don't see it happening. I think we're just going to get everything that we got in 14 and maybe one extra cool thing. But as of right now, I don't know about historic teams or all-time teams. I'd love to see it. Don't think it's happening, but you never know because they're signing a lot of these contracts for Ultimate Team. So why not make these old full-time, you know, or all-time rosters or historic teams like 2019 LSU and like early 2000s like Miami, or like 2008 Florida versus like 2018, I don't know, Alabama, or 2020 Alabama or something like that. So up next, I have 3 from Vegas in the Discord server. The first one that he mentioned was a scoreboard ticker that has records. So I'm guessing he either means like school records, like did they either go, you know, 804 to 205 in their history, or maybe in this rivalry game, you know, this person has a 66 to 50 something, you know, lead in their rivalry, or records as in like who's your leading scorer in your team, like who's thrown the most touchdowns in a game, who's ran for the most yards in a season, who's caught the most receiving yards in a season, stuff like that. I think he meant like scoreboard ticker with records. I'm guessing he means just like, I don't know, we'll have to see, but I guess we can use all 3. I do have that most likely happening, all 3 of those. For the history system, where it does show past winners in bowl games and championships, that's also very most likely happening. This is a very easy to choose right here. I mean, I'd like to be able to, kind of like how Winzipedia's website is, like choose 2 teams. I guess that's really improbable or probable right there to be able to choose those 2, but I'd like to be able to see pre-games like, how is this team done record-wise against this other team? Have they ever played before? Was it a bowl game? Was it a regular season matchup? I want to see cool stuff like that. And then he said during halftime, show all the current scores in the country. Now, I do think that's most likely happening. That's a very easy feature right there to remember and go on. You know, the old NCAA games have it. Even Madden has it with Jonathan Coachman doing the halftime stuff. And so here's a couple that I have added on to this right here. I have stadium renovations, but improbable. You know, maybe in the future, but I think that that takes a lot of work to make stadium renovations possible. Now, I do know it could happen because there's been so many happening recently, but, you know, like let's say you pick Kent State. Their stadium only holds what, 10, 15,000 people, and you bring them to 3 straight natties. You're going to want more people to show up to that game. Add a second deck to those seats. Expand it to, I don't know, 40, 50, 60,000 people. You know, people are going to want to start showing up at your games. Or maybe you have an old stadium and it's old and decrepit and you want to build a new stadium. Go ahead and do that. Even if it's like old Madden 12s, like old stadium builder, or even just to start out as, even though Madden's franchise relocate is broken and not good and needs to be revamped, I still don't mind having, like, I don't know, 5 or 6 alternate stadium baselines that we can choose from to create our own stadium for our team. And now the next one I do have is alternate position road to glories. Now, I think this is very probable of happening, but I don't really know. Now, when I mean alternate positions, I mean like kicker, offensive line, center. I know that's offensive line, but you know what I mean. Punter. Shoot, what if I want to play long snapper and there's like a little mini game that we can play that's like, ooh, you got to click these buttons at the perfect time to get the snap off right, or you blew it. You know, you're obviously not going to win the Heisman Trophy as a long snapper, but you could also do offensive line with the center or whatever, but we'll have to see. Obviously, kicker is one of the ones that I really want to do. I know some people would like to do an offensive line one because, you know, the offensive line matters too. That's like deep in the trenches is where the most important part of the football game happens. Because without the trenches, you have big old guys coming up on you, and you're going to get sacked for a loss of 12, okay? So up next, I have create a conference, and I think this is probable, given that we're going to be able to customize our playoffs. I don't know what degree we'll be able to do that, but I think create a conference is probable. Now, I do think the edit a conference is most likely happening, but creating a conference, I don't know. We'll have to see. What if I want to revamp and bring back the Big East? Or what if I want to bring back the WAC conference? Or the Southwest conference? Or the Big 8? You know, those old throwback conferences, bring them back. Bring some people, I don't know, out of the Sun Belt, out of the American, maybe some of the lower ranked teams in the ACC or the Big 10. Shoot, you could probably take Kentucky, South Carolina, and like Vanderbilt, Tennessee, maybe a couple of teams and make like a mid-Appalachian area with like maybe App State and Coastal Carolina. Get some of like the middle of like New England, maybe, you know, grab some of those teams and make a conference. I'd like to be able to completely revamp my entire world of college football. Be able to upload your own conference logos. Be able to choose where your headquarters are at. Choose your interdivisional and interconference rivals. I would love to be able to do stuff like that. I do think it's leaning towards improbable, but it's definitely possible. Because I'm not ready to put that as improbable, but it's still possible. The next up, I have a situation mode / game moment. So if you go back and play some of the old college football games like NCAA 05 or 06 on the PlayStation 2, you could play these old game moments. Like I remember you could replay the choke at the Doak between the Gators and the Seminoles when they ended up tying, when Bobby Bowden and Steve Spurrier were the head coaches. You could go back and maybe play game moments like, I don't know, the 2013 Iron Bowl. That's a wonderful throwback game right there. Or maybe the 2019 game between LSU and Alabama. Shoot, why not? Or Clemson versus Alabama with like Deshaun Watson and Hunter Renfrow. Stuff like that. I'd want to go back and be able to play either the full games or these moments. Or if they're not able to be like made by the devs to put in the game, let us be able to make that in our own situation mode. Like what if we wanted to create something that they didn't include in the game, or something that hasn't happened in real life, like it's 4th and 1 on the goal line, or 4th and goal, 1 second on the clock. Are you going to run it? Are you going to pass it? Go with the sneak, maybe a fullback dive? Maybe like practice those moments through a situation mode, because practice mode is fun, but it's not really good enough. And so I do think that this is a very improbable thing to return. But out of all of the things, this and create a conference are the two that I'm like really wanting to return, but I'm still not sure of returning in the near future. And then last but not least, I think this has been a really big debate between a lot of college football video game fans, is the return of Team Builder. I think this is most likely going to happen. If you look back at the old video games, you see that was a very big pinnacle of the later NCAA games on the Xbox 360 and the PS3 era. You got to make it on the website, whether you wanted to do that on your old iPhone or on your laptop or your Office PC, stuff like that. Be able to upload your logo with a fight song, go there, upload it to the servers, go into the video game and download it, Be able to create your university. If you look back and look at YouTube, some of the most biggest dynasties have been team builder dynasties. The biggest is a team builder dynasty, not the expert. Shout out to him, literally the GOAT of the college football video game series. The UGF Pandas were a legit classic throwback team right there for the YouTube community. He did that for a long time. The UGF Pandas were a college football video game staple in the YouTube community. And I want us to be able to remake them or make our own team. Do you want your team to be, what Bordeaux did? Shout out to Bordeaux, and you could do an Area 51 team like the Aliens, or if you wanted to make some team straight out of the bayous of Louisiana and call them like, I don't know, the freaking fried catfish or fried okra, I don't know. You could do that. Or if you wanted to do some Hollywood team or like straight out of Hollywood, call them like the Hollywood Stars or something like that. Or maybe you wanted to make something goofy, kind of like the Area 51 thing. I don't know, freaking Flint, Michigan, awful water system. I don't know. They need to fix that if they haven't, but I think you understand where I'm coming from. You have so much creative ability, whether it be serious, comedic, cool looking, cool vibes, being able to choose your colors. Do you want to roll with like a retro wave, kind of like a neon purple and pink? Or do you want to go old school with maybe like a black and orange or a black and blue or something like that? Or do you want to go something modern with like two very bright non-neonish colors? Maybe kind of like Florida does, like a blue and orange. That's like the opposite sides of the color spectrum do still look great right next to each other. There's a reason why Florida, Boise State, Auburn, UTSA, UTEP, teams like that use orange and blue. But I hope you guys enjoyed this short little last wish list video before we get some news on Thursday. We don't specifically know yet. We do know that we're going to see some covers. Maybe we'll see more info, but we will have to see. We will be live streaming our reactions to it, so make sure you're subscribed with the notification bell turned on, because I promise you're not going to regret it. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I will see you guys later.